Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Haven't enjoyed your day so far, and today we're going to talk about Dylan, Envoy, Hannon and Seth, Scumpy, aBeZy, because the last couple of days, or actually yesterday, Envoy went on the podcast and talked about quite some detail here about the potential of him kind of taking over the reins from Scump when Scump does retire, whenever that possibly is. I imagine it won't necessarily be soon, and of course he'll probably stay around NRG or OpTic Gaming on the content side at the very least, but can Envoy fill those shoes when he does indeed retire at some point, which probably will happen over the next coming years, right? And Envoy certainly in a position, certainly being put in a position by Hex & Co to take over those reins. Well, is he in the best position to do so? Is that even possible to do something like what Scump's done in the past? Maybe that's not the case, but from a skill standpoint, there may well be an argument to be made. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Lucky if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new. As always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Firstly, this then yesterday that COD Gamepedia noticed, the CDL 2021 hashtag is currently showing the Overwatch League image when tweeted. I believe this is only occurring on TweetDeck and mobile, where you can see the Overwatch League logo right here for CDL 2021. A few other people noticing that when they put it, it's actually not the case. They see the CDL logo as we see right here, but they're actually, this is probably because they're doing some updating of these hashtags, as you can see. So as COD Gamepedia then say, the CDL team hashtag images are no longer appearing. We assume this is a Twitter error, but I believe they may be updating this type of stuff, because not too long after this, OpTic then tweeted out hashtag OpTic, hashtag green wall, right? So I imagine it was, well, the situation was probably that they were changing some of these hashtags, right, for last season, because of course it was OGLA before, they didn't have anything else going on, and they've probably been working behind the scenes to get the actual OpTic hashtag with the logo and the green wall hashtag as well. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Certainly seems like we are gearing up for the start of the season from the way I see it right now. Also, Hex yesterday tweeted this out, so Zuma stopped by the Hex Quarter, so going to be a cool eavesdrop podcast that is going to be live on YouTube tomorrow. A bit of a different studio setup they've got right now, but talking about podcast, on the Codcast a couple of days ago where Envoy was on, it seemed somewhat corporate in the sense that it wasn't like super free-flowing as some of the interviews are with Nameless and Pac-Man right here, but he does get asked in one of the call-ins, is he ready to be Scump's successor, right? And this has been the discussion. Probably Hex for the last several years has been trying to find someone who, okay, when Scump retires or whatever, who can take over that aspect in terms of, you know, how they are in terms of their personality, also their skill on the team, what they bring to the team, the amount of fan base, well, the depth of their fan base that they have. And it's not to say that anyone could do something like what Scump did back in the day, right? Like making those YouTube videos way back in like 2013, 2014 that completely blew up the scene. Those type of things is just not possible anymore, right? Because that's when Call of Duty had its inception, and that's what Scump was such a key driver of over those last several years. It's not really something which is possible anymore. The league is now relatively mature, but the question is there, how many people still tune into the matches just because of Scump, right? Like how many people don't really care about the rest of the squad, but they just care for Scump, and maybe by caring for Scump, they then get to be interested in the other players on the team, and eventually they get to become interested in the other teams in the league and what teams they might actually prefer supporting over time. Like, I think a lot of people have taken that route where they came into Call of Duty through Scump, as did myself, and then over time you find some other players you like and rooting for some other teams, and whatever your path happens to be in the future, Scump was actually the one initially to get you into Call of Duty sales. So I think a lot of people have, well, found a similar thing over time. Now, that might not be the case anymore, right? Like, how many people are actually going to get into the Call of Duty League in a few years' time through someone's YouTube channel, right? Not necessarily. It might be more through the CDL marketing and the in-game marketing and this type of stuff, which didn't exist back in the day. So Scump's role in that sense isn't probably required anymore into the future for actually getting new fans into the league, right? But Envoy is certainly in an interesting spot. I think he's only like 19, 20, something like this. Very, very talented player indeed. Almost like a leadership figure on this team, as we talked about not too long ago. But if Scump was to retire tomorrow, can Envoy carry the load in terms of the personality that Scump brings to the table? Well, it's certainly an interesting discussion. But as Envoy says in this clip right here, he's certainly very much focused on the competition first, winning championships first, and then, well, whatever comes later, comes later. And that's, of course, a secondary focus, but I'm sure in Hex's mind, he's probably thinking it's something of a primary focus, given, well, how much of a big focus they have had on content these last several years and how successful that has been for that organization, and for good reason.
Today is actually from the other Dill, Madcat. DM me via the Codcast account, and he said, does Envoy think he'll be ready to be Scump's successor? As I personally think he'll be taking that role once Scump retires as the head man of COD.
Whoa, that's a big
targeting question.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, it's definitely a big ask. I think as time goes on, I could fill his shoes on like a content side. I don't think I'll ever be, or anyone will ever come near as big as Seth. Maybe 5-10 years down the line, but for the time being, I don't see anyone getting as big as him. But I'm trying to do all the right things. Everyone behind the scenes, Hector, even Seth, is pushing me to, do big things in content. And obviously, competing is way before anything. When it comes to it, like, when the streams go off or when we need to turn streams off, like, I'm there to compete before the content.
I thought I'd share this clip quickly as well because, I had this saved up for a while now, and Hector's kind of joking around about Scump retiring next year. And I think he also said in the TJHaLy Intel podcast that he sees Scump having like 5-6 more years in his career. Maybe that's ambitious. I think Scump sees maybe like 2, 3, 4 years, something in that ballpark left competing. As long as he enjoys competing, as long as he's still competitive, as long as he's still competing for championships, I see no reason why Scump is going to go away anytime soon. But at some point it will happen. I imagine it will be before Envoy decides to retire, right? Given the age difference there between the two. So, the question has got to be there. Who can take over from Scump? Is that even possible? And, what position does that leave OpTic in?
I don't even know, like, your middle name. You know what I mean? I just say that for the camera, Seth. You know how it goes. PR, baby.
Okay. Whatever.
I know you're retiring next year.
Oh. Uh-oh. You just rustled some jimmies.
TacticalRab. Here comes... what's his name? Man? Jake Lucky. Seth's retiring. Get him out of here. I'm just trying to help them out, make a video, get a couple views, get a couple, you know what I mean?
So you could say the pressure is certainly on Envoy, right, to prove that, he can step up in this sense. We've seen very recently how his YouTube channel has been blowing up, and for good reason, of course. This content is superb, but alternating the 100 no episodes between Scump's channel and between his own channel, and these get, phenomenal views, right, and bring a lot of Scump's fans over to Envoy's side, and, he certainly has a fantastic personality that's really engaging, but he might not quite be as, outgoing maybe as Scump's personality is. He might not quite be geared up for content in the same degree, but it's certainly something which you can probably learn and adapt to over time, and he probably has quite a while to do so as well on this squad, because at some point Scump's going to go, I suppose Formal's going to go as well, and we saw Karma retire last year, right, and how long do these other pro players still have at the upper echelon of the scene? And if you're OpTic Chicago, you've got to try and build a massive fan base around a guy like Envoy, and as he says, look, winning is first, championships come first, but certainly content is a big factor of his consideration right now, and as I said, from Hector's perspective, content is pretty much king, right, and it brings everything else into the squad, because if you, make great content and get a lot of fans in that sense, you then get a lot of money and sponsorship deals and this type of stuff, which enables you to pay for the best possible team. But as you can see, this is what Scump's doing most recently. Actually, the views here are not too dissimilar, right, between Scump's YouTube channel and Envoy's YouTube channel, which is pretty impressive to see given the sizes, of course, of these channels. But as you can see, no one's going to do what Scump did back in the day. Like, I just looked at the top uploads here, Sweatband and 88, flawless. I mean, so many videos, way over 1 million views. This is from back in the Black Ops 2 days where, this content was just phenomenal, and a lot of people came into competitive Call of Duty through these YouTube videos from Scump at the time, as pretty much did myself. Now, that kind of path into Call of Duty probably doesn't exist in the same way as it did back in the day, so Envoy doesn't have this incredible responsibility to be bringing loads of new fans into the scene as well. Scump pretty much did back in the day. That's why Scump has such a phenomenal following. It's more about, okay, can he be consistent on the content side? Does he have the engaging personality to bring people into the green wall in that sense? But also, can he do something to really extend the life and the depth and the breadth of the Call of Duty fan base, right? And that's probably a bit of a pressure which is on him, right? I don't necessarily envy Envoy in that sense. And as you can see right here, Hex has been calling him the Prince, right, as of late. So you've got the King Scump, Prince Envoy. So, definitely he's been gearing up this discussion, right, and trying to make it happen. The Prince of Petrograd, as GG Breaking Point say here back in the day. But stepping away from the content side for a second, you've also got to consider Envoy, of course, is an incredibly raw, talented player. And it's going to be very tough to match the raw talent which Scump was able to bring to the table a few years ago. I mean, in Advanced Warfare, for example, when pretty much he was the best SMG player in the game, without a shadow of a doubt, and the SMG was a difficult role to run in that game, given the BAL was pretty much the dominant weapon for the majority of it. So Scump was the best player in Advanced Warfare. Most people would agree. The majority of Black Ops 3 was at least the best SMG in the game, and these type of levels are going to be difficult for Envoy to match, right, going forwards, but it's certainly something which is possible. I mean, it's very competitive nowadays, but Envoy certainly has the skill there, and he also has those leadership qualities to him, which are very difficult to come by. So I think Envoy has a lot of fantastic elements of his game, of his, skill set, of course. His search and destroy is phenomenal. If you look right here at GG Breaking Point, and the Chicago Huntsman from last season, down in search and destroy, Envoy had a 1.28 over the course of the season. That's pretty remarkable stuff. So certainly he has the skill and the talent to, when Scump does move on at some point, to still be bringing championships to this OpTic Chicago squad, or whatever it happens to be called in the future. I imagine that will be the case for quite a while now. But yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts on the conversation. But there's two elements here. There's the skill side, there's the personality, there's the content content side, I mean, Scump's kind of dominated both for the last several years. Can Envoy get close to that? He's probably the player in the best position to do so, but yeah, well, it's a lot of responsibility when Scump does retire in, well, I suppose, a few years' time. But of course, he has time yet to prove that, well, that is certainly possible. As Zaptia says right here, just to finish off with a couple of other funny clips, you know, he was pretty funny there. We're scrimming against the New York Subliners right here, and Zuma flies out for the challenge, of course, as we looked at on the Esports podcast. Gonna be live, I imagine, sometime later today. And Zuma just straight up flies off the map back here in a back carriage. So yeah, pretty entertaining stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Oh, ring, ace him.
Yep, they're all spawning right.
You're dead. One more.
Should be alright.
Go to the left. Yeah, he's top art. I'm ignoring him.
On the mid zig step.
Okay, I'm hitting
Wow.
one.
One
One's
spawn
behind you.
out,
Yeah,
yeah.
behind you.
You're so pissed. I go on
One
you.
was zig steps. One was zig steps coming out.
Those kids are spawning out. They're spawning out.
Yeah, pushing you. Weak on you. Absolute. To your left.
No, he jumped off the map. Let's go.